Welcome back to the Valicites podcast, Beyond the Ledger, a special edition where I sit down with disruptors and leaders redefining the future of fitness, wellness, and lifestyle brands. Today's guest is someone who spent his career scaling operations from the ground up, empowering leaders, and now shaking up the way we drive engagement and retention at scale, not through gimmicks or hypes, but through connection. Trey Moser is the Senior Vice President of Enterprise Operations at Verb. You've heard of them, and previously held executive leadership roles at Crunch Fitness and Planet Fitness. His obsession, solving silent attrition and helping brands activate their people, members, and team members through operational clarity, repeatability, and AI-driven communication, my favorite. We're diving into how Trey and Verb are turning passive members into power users, why most operational problems are actually people problems, and what it really takes to scale a brand in today's fitness economy using AI. So let's jump right in, Trey. Welcome to the Valicites podcast, sir.
Albert, thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, so lucky to have you. We've been in chats quite a bit. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the fitness, wellness, lifestyle space. Then you throw in some AI, and I'm like, shoot, wait, this is Verb. Like I'm talking to the
Yeah,
guy. I love Verb. I've been following you guys for a long time. We are so connected in so many different ways we didn't even know, and it's so cool that we get to continue
awesome.
our
Heck yeah.
conversation. More people need to learn about you and what you do operationally, number one. But number two, learn about Verb, because this is where I'm telling you, I've been saying it on LinkedIn. We need something that glues all of this fragmentation in the fitness and wellness industry. And I think you're going to surprise a lot of people today.
Yeah, I'm excited to share some insights on just what we've learned over time and sending messages and understanding human behavior at scale. So excited.
I love it. Well, again, most importantly, you're just a great leader. Of a lot of people that know you speak so highly of you. You have a huge and great reputation throughout the fitness and wellness space. So, when did you first realize that most operational problems were actually team member, people problems in disguise?
Yeah, like most of the operators, I think in our space, and maybe even in any industry, right, is we're kind of thrown to the fire, and we end up learning maybe the third or fourth or fifth time that it's actually not really that we should have worked the process of work on paper, but we got to keep breaking them down, and eventually it clicked, and it wasn't necessarily the system, it was the human friction inside of it, like the misalignment, the unclear expectations, fear of ownership or your boss, so to speak, like lack of
Mm,
trust. Like there's a lot to unpack there, but none of which really obviously show up on a spreadsheet. And
so true.
I think a lot of what we decide quietly, whether it's things that flow or they fall apart operationally, personally, professionally, is rare. Just operations is rarely just about efficiency; it's about psychology,
Yeah, you're
ultimately, right?
so spot on, and this
Um,
is and typically it's a show for finance folk, but I love this, and I love when we pivot a little bit, especially with guests like you, Trey, that are all about people and leadership. You remind me of a great book called The Four Stages of Psychological Safety. I know you've read it. You post
yes,
a
hundred
ton
percent.
on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. I'm like, this guy is all over it. But you're right. It's like it won't show up on the spreadsheet, but it is the DNA of the brand, of the organization. If you don't take care of your people and you're not sourcing great talent, right? And you're not developing people, challenging them and taking care, recognizing them, coaching them, it's going to be tough for the
Really
financials
tough.
to look better, right?
100%. Yeah, it's really really tough for the anything to look better if the people don't feel a part, right? And it's cliche. Everyone says, "Well, we're part of a team. We have a great culture." But I think really the ultimate factor in determination on whether or not you have a good culture is what your team says about it, not necessarily
Mm,
what the boss says.
yeah, that's so spot on. Well, you have been a multi-unit leader. I mean, over 50 locations that you've operated, and I'm sure you get this question all the time. But what's the biggest or most painful lesson you had to learn the hard way throughout your career, especially at that scale?
Yeah, managing 50 and counting locations
Yeah.
in bricks and mortar. The count as far as locations was the ceiling was through the roof, right? I mean, we had no
Yeah.
cap. I think ultimately I learned that people don't do what you expect they do. They do what you inspect. And it's
Mm,
it's really important to, and I'm not talking about inspecting for the sake of reprimand. Like there's a
Right,
time and a
right.
place for that for sure. But I think inspect in a way that you got to be early on with it. It's got to be thought. I thought that clear SOPs and good intentions were enough,
Mm,
and I really found out very quickly. In fact, I was still a single club unit manager. I had one location managing 15 staff or so, but I painfully learned that actually consistency doesn't come necessarily from a document.
mhm,
um,
mm,
while it does in some cases, it actually comes from being visible, follow through, again using the word accountability, trust built, one conversation that could be uncomfortable at a time, or even maybe comfortable at a time. And no matter how good the playbook is, it's not necessarily about what's in the playbook. It's about walking with it with your team through tough times and in the weeds and taking the
yeah.
trash out and so on and
So
so forth.
good. Yeah, I think people want leaders in the trenches, right? And I know we're gonna get to it. I'm already fired up because you're making me think. I'm like, y'all, AI is not the solve all. There will still be a requirement and a need for people like Trey and others, leaders that know how to get in the trenches, that know how to connect. This is why I really press it on the finance side. Is y'all, it is not about the computer or what AI can do. It's how do you go get in front of the computer, go tell the story, connect with people. That is going to be where a lot of finance folk make it or don't, right?
Don't.
And you
Mhm.
you you see it from an operation lens, and it's huge, right? Same thing. A lot of operators, great. We have these tools, but it doesn't solve all. Just like an SOP document, digitally or physical or what have you, it doesn't solve this
100%.
human connection that people need. Coaches, they need motivation, they need someone side by side, hip to hip, that's going to help them and support them and recognize them, right? Or yeah, to your point, sometimes be that tough coach. People need that. They want that structure, accountability, even though they might not think it or say it at the
Think they
time.
do. Yep.
You
Yep.
know those
100%.
best coaches, right, in life that you've had, and I played college football and sports throughout my life, and I remember those tough coaches. And at the time, like, man, they'd make me just get real riled up. But it's like, later down the road, it's like, now I get it. Yeah, that's
I
what I
get it.
needed. Yeah.
It's what you need. 100%.
Well, you're super active on LinkedIn. I honestly, I wait for your posts every single morning. You're
I
on it.
appreciate
It's
that. I missed a
yeah.
couple days, but
I know. I was gonna hit you up. I'm like, it's coffee and I'm alone. I need
yeah.
Trey's post, and it's cool because and we're gonna get to Verb because great organization. And like I said, I've been waiting for something like Verb that's gonna make everything sticky because you're seeing this wellness go off and the ecosystem there. Nothing's connected. So I have like 7 different apps. Like I don't know how to connect with any brand. I'm like, I'm
You're
super
right.
overwhelmed, right?
Totally.
But you post a lot on LinkedIn about leadership too, and about scaling operations. And one thing that you posted, I really loved, and I kept coming back to it, and I actually shared it with my team, is don't optimize before you stabilize. I'm like, I was like perfect timing when I read that. What is, in your opinion, as you were writing that? I mean, I'm sure something impacted you or your team that influenced that quote. Because I'm stealing it now, by the way. What does that looks like
100%.
inside, a growing fitness brand? Like, you've worked with some major ones, Crunch, Planet. They're on. I mean, they're knocking it out of the park. Obviously, some great public injection of capital too I mean, they're knocking it out of the park, just growing tremendously, both domestically here in the U.S. and international. And now you're a part of Verb too, and I'm sure that impacts that quote and mentality impacts there as well. What does that look like for you?
I think that it looks like resisting the urge to automate chaos.
Mm,
Um, because oftentimes as an operator, we it is a chaotic environment. Like you have members, or even before that, you're building and you're trying to make it meet the standard, and you have a lot of expectations from a corporate entity. Obviously, I was a part of a franchisee, and so there's a lot of expectation around how a club should look and aesthetics and where we should put pre-sale and who we should hire and how many people we should. So there's a lot of chaos, right?
yeah.
And I think it's really resisting that urge to, just because we're in a chaotic season doesn't mean that that chaotic season will last forever, and we have to resist the urge to automate that. And I think
So good.
as an example, in minor front desk, inconsistent with check-ins, right? Which is a big one because you want to track usage, you want to see who uses what, you want to know how much money they spend, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera. And don't necessarily start building a tech or hire a tech product just to speed up that process.
Mm,
I think first everyone's got to understand, be coached, be led, be educated. Again, very minor, very basic, but they got to know how to check somebody in. In fact, I was just talking to someone last night. Literally, they were just hired on as a front desk team member, and this is at a boutique brand. And I think the owner has 3, 4 locations, maybe. And there was some animosity between her and other staff members, and she was going back and forth on like what the expectation is, and it was
sure.
about checking in. Should I stand up when I check in? Should I sit down when I check in? How long should it take me to vacuum at the end of the day? Like all these are very minor, and it's kind of chaotic, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
she wasn't trained. She didn't know how to. She wasn't educated
Mm,
on the product. She didn't know
root
how to
cause.
run the CRM. She didn't know how to greet a member. She was just kind of thrown at the front desk and we'll figure it out. And again, there's a time and a place for that. I get it. I was there. But you really have to slow down and resist the urge to try and replicate or automate chaos.
It's so funny because we're in this environment that, I mean, I feel like both on the automation front and even the AI front, there's something new literally every single week. Like just a couple of weeks ago,
Yeah,
I'm learning about Open AI agent. I'm like, finally, but now I'm getting all these notifications of different features. I'm like, when the heck did this happen?
sure.
But what happens though, I think, is there's a lot of people think they're being forced not only to adopt, but to adopt it and AI everything. We're AI first,
Yes.
right? Like
Right,
we're
right,
an AI
right.
only company. I'm like, I don't know if
I
that's
don't
going to
like
work
that.
out for
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to
Right,
work
right.
out. I mean, I'd rather we use the tool, automation tool or AI tool to solve a pain point, but slow down, right? No need to
Slow. Yeah,
quickly over automate or over AI because then
sure.
things start breaking and now your brand trust and it starts to erode, right? And that includes not just the customer or the member in our case, but your team member. And it's a great example. It's like, hey, we need to slow down. And yes, there's all this great technology around us, but if we're not connecting with the team member, let alone the customer or end user, and walking them through and navigating them through this team member journey and training them and coaching them, I mean, the tool is only a tool when used correctly, or else everything breaks.
Everything shatters. And I'll make one more point. I think about high growth, and don't get me wrong. I definitely believe in high growth. I think it's important in this industry and any industry. But it's tempting to scale the processes fast without actually defining and really optimizing like what you're doing day to day. And
Yeah,
once you do that, scale as fast as you want. But I think
right.
you got your 1 or 2 locations, you really got to spend the time. It's the arena where you mess up. It's the arena where you try to prevent, like we were talking about, chaos. Or if we do experience chaos, we're going to try to really house it and make it as most efficiently as we can, and then we can stamp and repeat, right? But it's tempting to just scale that chaos or
Yeah.
replicate the chaos when we're just trying. If you scale broken system, as they say, you just multiply the pain. That's all you do.
Exactly. Yep. And that when people are learning that, I see a lot of AI projects where people will reach out to me, hey, this we tried, we failed. I'm like, well, let me look under the hood. Got it. It's because
Yeah,
you didn't
yeah,
slow
sure.
down and actually
Right.
map it out. And you're like the engineer type, right? And I always advise people, especially in the fitness wellness spaces, be the team member for the operators, right? Or the leaders out there. Be the team member, the frontline team member, be the customer or the member, the end user. Walk through your doors from I always call it MPOV, member point of view,
Yep.
right? As
I
you're
agree
checking
100%.
in, as you're walking past, who's saying hi? Are you going to the cafe? Are you going to work out? Are you using the equipment? Are you looking around like a member would? Or are you noticing, wow, there's a lot of leaks on my ceiling. I haven't gotten on this piece of equipment in a long time, right?
Right.
It's like little things that every touch point of the member and team member journey, if not done correctly, and yeah, if you're using the wrong tools and you're over automating where you shouldn't be, it completely erodes trust. And I love when you're posting about these things. It's like, hey, slow down. Like, yes, we all want to scale. We all want to get
Huh.
faster, more
Agreed.
precise,
Yep.
right? Have speed, but you can't do it negligently, right? Or else things just fall apart, and a lot of business fails because of that.
100% agree.
Well, one thing that you mentioned too on LinkedIn, and again, I'm coming at from a finance angle, is, and it was perfect. You said compensation isn't just math; it's strategy. And I'm like, wait a second. And so I was looking at the comments on LinkedIn, and I kind of got a gist of what you were talking about there. But can you unpack that for us? Because I think a lot of people out there need to understand that when they're building compensation plans, and I get to do that quite a bit with others, but you realize that they're looking at it from maybe an angle that is incomplete. You said it's not just the math and the nuts and bolts and the dollar signs, it's also strategy. Can you walk us through what you meant by that?
Yeah, I'd love to. I obviously like everyone. I don't think there's anyone out there that is in the day-to-day grind that doesn't appreciate compensation and all the things that go around that word, right? And what it entails. And I think most people treat that, and in some cases they should, but they often treat it like a calculator, like input hours, output dollars, input hours,
Mm-hmm.
output dollars. And I think it's actually a steering wheel. I think compensation directs behavior. I don't
Mm.
necessarily believe all the time, while it is a lot of people and myself included, sometimes the most important thing that they do in their work is to be fairly compensated. But I think it actually bigger than that. You know, the interesting thing about compensation, and there's a quote I saw recently. It said, "If you pay just for presence, all you'll get is time. If you pay for outcomes, then you'll get results. But if you pay for alignment, you build culture."
Jam.
And I think it's back to our culture kind of conversations at the top. That compensation, it's not just about input and output. While those are important and maybe the top priority for a lot of people, and I'm not suggesting that's wrong, I just think there's so much more to unpack about compensation.
Yeah.
If you're compensated, there's more focus. You're. I think that the way that the pay structure is set out, compensation pay tells the team what matters most to you, right? it,
Mm.
it helps you paint the picture of what's important, and then ultimately, are we rewarding behavior like what we actually want, or we are doing the compensation.
Trying to save some cash. It's like, are we trying to cut that payroll line item and not think about the strategy piece,
Right,
right? It's like,
right, there's
yeah,
so much
that's
more to it, you
there's
know
so much more. There's so much more to it. And I behaviors, or I remember, I mean, shoot, econ, right? Like econ and finance has been my educational background. But when I got into economics, it was also about, we one of the first things we talked about is incentives, right? And so you go back to the topic of compensation. How is it incentivizing the behavior that you want? And is that behavior aligned to what the organization's objectives are? I see a
100%.
lot of companies not think that way. They think, okay, it's only going to be 30% of revenue, and the
Yep.
math breaks it down to this line item. We're going to cut that a little bit because we need to save some cash this year. I'm like, oh boy, we got it
Yeah,
all.
man,
We're
I,
thinking
I
about
love
it
the
all.
comment. I love the comment. I had a team member who did all of our data analytics in Planet, and she used to always say to me, because I'd always I'm a big phone guy. Like if I need something, I'm just going to pick you up real quick and make a phone call. Done away with all the 75 email chains. But she talked. She always said that numbers tell a story. Right. And I think that's
Yeah.
true for compensation. There's so much more. Again, all those things are important. 30%, 70%, how much can I save? Where can I cut? Like all those things you have to think about. Don't misunderstand me. But I think there's so much more to that, and really understanding what's behind the number, what story are you trying to tell to your team, and then when they receive that compensation package, what story are they ultimately going to tell about your brand when
Mm.
they receive it.
It's long-term thinking. It's the long game, the big picture. All right. So I don't know what it is. And I think it's because I came from fitness and wellness, and I'm still in it, obviously, but 16 years of experience. I got a lot to get off my chest.
Yeah.
So,
Me
I
and
mean,
you both, man.
we're jamming out right now. Okay. So this whole click to cancel, have you been following that? And
I have, yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
walk me through, what are your thoughts? Because you're a big retention guy, right? And the whole idea, for those that haven't been following along, it looks like, yes, the government was trying to get involved and maybe overstepped, right? Within
Yeah.
the private sector. And basically, and I'm summarizing this, I'm sure there's a lot of details, and those at HFA are going to kill me for botching this, right? But the government overstepped, and they were trying to mandate, a one click to cancel. Basically, uh, it should be very easy for the end user,
Yes.
member in our industry, the member, to go and cancel their membership subscription when they want to, and it should be one click. There's a lot of layers as to why, if that was to happen overnight, it would really hurt businesses. And I get that from a technical and
Sure.
infrastructure. Got it. Okay, I hear you. However, uh, being a member as well as someone that's worked in and continues to work in the health fitness space, lifestyle brand space, right? We know that there have been organizations out there that made it and still make it way too hard, right? 4 clicks
Way.
deep, or I gotta send my Hogwarts owl to you, or
Your
I gotta
firstborn
yeah,
child, yeah.
telegram my firstborn child with a nice like I want to cancel, So
Yes.
thoughts on that? Because and we're going to talk about Verb here in a little bit that helps retention, right? That helps connectivity. Thoughts on that? Where is our industry going right with this? Where are they going wrong with it? I was
Mm,
curious about your
loaded,
thoughts.
loaded
Yeah, I know.
question. Yeah. Um, I think that, many gym chains hide the cancellation process behind a phone call
Mhm.
or an in-person visit. It's just the fact of the matter. And the only reason they're doing that, and in a lot of ways, I've obviously been there, they're just delaying churn.
Right.
And so, the easier it is for someone to leave, the easier it will be for them to come back. And so it's
Sure.
really important
I like that.
that we make it the process to leave friendly, welcoming, easy, simple, all you fill in the blank to be able to leave a brand so that you can actually make it that much more for them to come back. And it's another important piece of that click to cancel is that there obviously there's legal and regulatory pressure and like you were saying the government and everyone, there's so many different people involved, but
Mhm.
I think making cancellation harder doesn't actually save anyone like more. I think
Yeah,
it actually just burns trust by the brand. And
totally.
it's as easy it is for you to sign up for a gym membership because obviously we want your money. It should be that much easier to leave. Um, so that and I understand there's buyout fees and like all those things. There's contractual obligations. Like sure, but if a member has made a decision, which I think we're going to touch on kind of
Oh,
this
it's
early,
coming.
but
It's
um,
coming.
the decision, when a member decides they want to leave, that's the decision that they've ultimately made, obviously. But they made that decision right when they first joined, when you didn't reach out to them and could talk to them, engage with them, and create cohesiveness. And
Right.
so that decision was made 6 months ago. So you have to be
Exactly.
able to leave simply.
Exactly. And so my argument is, yeah, why are we making it so difficult? I think I use the word embarrassing, and maybe that's too provocative, especially on LinkedIn. Like I'm gonna get the
Sure.
DMs I got from that. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sorry for using that word. It's 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 just it's just not the culture anymore. Maybe that was the culture before, but people expect, to your point, for as easy as it was for me to join, it should be that easier to leave when I want to,
When you want to.
right? When you
Hmm.
want to. Now, to your
Yep.
point, there are some contractual like terms and everything you're
Sure.
committed to.
Fair.
If it's not month to month, maybe it's an annual thing or
Right.
whatever. So that
Right.
makes sense, right? Um, but here, let's change gears. I think that the gym, the studio, right, the resort, the club, what have you, should be more focused on how do we make sure that thought just
Never comes.
never
100%.
comes. Enter Verb, and they didn't pay me to say that. I've just been
No,
following
you
them for
do.
so long, right? So let's walk through Verb because we have to get better as an industry on the experience, the member experience. We talked about team member and culture. That's number one, priority number one. And I know you're a big fan of that and you preach that loud and clear. And take a look. I mean, except for those couple days daily, right? I see it on your LinkedIn, right? The next one is the
Sure.
end user, the member, right? We need to make sure, man, we are so connected to the brand, to all the different things that the brand offers, so that they never think about, you know what, is this even worth it? Should I leave and cancel? So, no,
100%.
don't, because it's going to take you weeks. No, it's
Yeah, right. Right.
so let's walk me through that. What is the most overlooked signal that a
Mm.
member is about to cancel? I mean, you have a ton of data. What Verb? Walk me through again. 8 years worth of data. Maybe talk about Verb. What is Verb?
Yeah, yeah, we've been plugging it. So
I know.
yeah, we do human we understand human behavior through SMS text messages, and we can connect with members at scale. We understand human behavior through the responses based on what their goals are. We know that a lot of the members have, again, you have to engage in order to see value. I know you spent a little bit of time on one of our demo channels, and it's really important that the end user engages with the product. We can white label, we can integrate it into pretty much any interfaces out there, and CRM and app and you name it. And it's really important to very early on to establish habits, to bridge communication gaps, like to your point
Mm,
earlier, to the glue amongst all the different departments inside a gym. And certainly when they leave, you
right.
have to be facing in front and center and top of mind to the member. And I'm not talking about mass messaging, marketing, join for 10 cents, thanks
Right.
for coming, how was your experience? Like all those things are fine, but we're talking about intimate, personal, real communication at scale. And we use AI to supplement a lot of our conversation.
It's been awesome. You mentioned it. I've been using it for the last couple of months, and you're right. It's AI powered behavior modification. I will tell you, everyone could probably see it if you're watching this and not just listening to audio. You can see my natural glow coming out because I don't think I've drinking more water in the
We were talking about
last
that
two
the other
months.
day. Yeah.
It was. I'm telling you, I'm like hydrated to the max. Like I went and got my blood labs too. I'm like, yeah, my
Yeah.
platelets and all. I've been drinking water nonstop because Verb is on my, on my
Yeah.
ass,
Right.
and nutrition is getting on point too. And it's just, I mean, this is where the world is going, is having, in this case, Verb, right? And it could be, wrapped with any brand out there if you're wondering, right? But it's my personal trainer in my pocket. I mean, my
100%.
agent, my AI
Yep.
agent, and that's where everything's going. Is I want a wellness coach at all times before I put that bad stuff in my body, and I know I need to do the good stuff. Well, sometimes you need a coach. You're talking about team member experience, lifestyle experience. I need someone to tell me to do it. Like I just do, right?
100%.
Sometimes I need
Most
someone
people
to tell
do.
me.
Yep.
Yeah, and
Right.
that's where Verb has been awesome. I mean, my water intake, which was, I'm telling you, if it could be negative, it probably was negative, but it was zero. And now it's at an all-time high,
And
and I
and
feel great.
I think the cool thing about our product is we have really five pillars of the kind of our foundational communication, right? And those are some of the autopilot daily check-ins, right? We monitor stress level based on conversation. We monitor sleep, water, as you mentioned, workout quality, and food intake. All right, you can take pictures and we can analyze it and give you feedback on what's on the plate, and we capture all that data. We've sent over 6 million text messages in 7 years. And so we're the only product that we know of out there that understands human behavior and communicate that at scale.
I know we've chatted about this, but if there's anyone out there in marketing, you're just salivating, like 7, 8 years worth of data that you can now go query, right? And or if you're just the single unit or multi-unit franchise operator, roll up
100%.
private equity, I'm thinking about all of that data. And again, and forgive me, everyone out there. Yes, it's all about the end user and the experience, but I'm thinking also from the finance lens, share of wallet. Share of
Yes.
wallet. Now I
Hmm.
know, and everyone's expecting nowadays, and this is where everyone's struggling, right? Because it takes some investment in capital to hyper personalize the experience. It's very
Yes.
hard to do.
It's hard
It's
to do.
very hard to scale without the technology that Verb has at its disposal. So I'm a huge fan because I'm thinking about all the different opportunities when you have this connected ecosystem, right? And I keep saying it, and I say it on LinkedIn. The wellness industry, yeah, it's on fire. Love what everyone at Fit Insider and Athletic News, all of them are talking about. It's a huge $1 billion. It's going to be a trillion. Yes, but it's still so fragmented, and the end user is just like, I don't know how to keep up
Yeah, they're
with all
so
this stuff.
confused. Yes, there's just so much going on.
But what you all are doing, you've been doing it for 7, 8 years, is you've been preparing, connecting these dots, and you have this data that you can query. And now I know, my members under my roof or outside of the roof when they leave, I know what they're doing. We haven't had that. We haven't had
Right.
that big data, and that's pretty cool on how you guys have positioned yourself. Let's say a gym or studio or what have you is not using something like that. I mean, how are they? What have you found? How are they communicating with members both inside their studio and then outside the other 23 hours of the day?
Yeah, the 23 hours of the day is really important, and it's a good point to bring up. Obviously, our product bridges that gap between when they leave at the 23rd hour and when they come back the next time for a workout. Where again, we keep the brand top of mind, meaning your brand top of mind, or anyone's brand, front and center. We glue it all together. The member experience really is just expanded outside the four walls. And a lot of gym chains that aren't using something like our product, they're either one, just texting one-to-one on
Mm.
their own personal cell phone. They're using a lot of general mass messages, right? Again, like we talked about earlier, how was your experience? Can you rate it 1 to 5? Join for 10 cents. Like I get one every day, right? From
Oh
other
man.
various gyms that I've visited,
And
and
I'm telling you right now, and I know Verb is protected here because this is the business model, right? But I can't imagine out of all those texts that are going through, how many did I opt in for? And just
yes,
the legal
100%.
liability.
Yes,
Oh
yes,
my
yes.
goodness. The financial leakage is just killing me right now. I'm just thinking about it because that's
Yep,
important. And a lot of operators, if you're
100% it is.
listening, that is important.
It's
I
one of the biggest
remember,
questions that we actually get, Albert,
oh, I'm sure.
is hey, where are we covered legally here? And we have opt-ins, and certainly, when you sign a membership agreement, most of them nowadays have, opt-in, check here for text messages, right? And so our product is just behind the scenes. We're already white labeled into your system, into your member ecosystem anyway. And then of course, there's the opt-out kind of initial welcome message that's at the bottom,
Mhm.
and you can do that as well.
It's amazing. Well, walk us through some of the, we're talking about input, output, some of the data, right? Can you walk us through some of the results that you can share from Verb's, the AI driven SMS nudges, right? And I think you guys call it that. They're
Yes.
habit behavioral nudges. What are some of the results that you're seeing from many of the fitness and wellness brands that you all work with?
Yeah, sure. The interesting thing, again, about kind of what we do is we absolutely, and I mentioned this earlier, it's really, really, really important that the end user engages. And
Mm-hmm.
if they do not engage, there's no value.
Mm-hmm.
If there's not a back and forth conversation, we have coaches on the back end that monitor all the conversations and can type manually in messages if for some reason the AI didn't pick it up or there's an issue or what have you, right? And so, we reduce churn by about 20% at given brands, and
Amazing.
we increase attendance by about 50%. Again, but and only if the end user engages. Um, it is a mass messaging product, and it can be as mass messaging as you want it to be, but it's actually way more than that. It's very personalized. We understand the human behavior because we ask what their behavior is. We want to understand their SMART goals, so to speak, as an example. We want to understand what their daily workout routine looks like. We want to understand, how much weight they're at now and how much weight they want to lose, and all the different goals they have. And we build the communication platform or the data set based on that input. And we can do that for one person, and we can do that for 10,000 and beyond. And
Amazing.
there's a back end dashboard, and you can understand and watch the communication flow, and from a brand to a member, and you can see that back and forth, and you can interject as you need to. And so, again, it's really important that the member engages, or client. We're actually kind of doing some exploration into mental health and to
I
healthcare,
love it. I love it.
in using our data sets to be able to communicate at scale to those clients.
Yeah. I've been very vocal on this podcast, on my LinkedIn, and just as a leader in the industry, going through mental health situations or challenges.
Sure.
And I learned so much, and how many others were, I say, struggling in quotes, right? Because for some, it can be painful, can be a struggle. For some, it can be, it lights them up, it fires
100%.
them up. But I have a pituitary tumor, which messed up with my hormones, led to panic attacks
Got
and
you.
anxiety.
Sure.
But there's something like this where if I had at that time 5 years worth of Albert being stubborn, it's like, no, come on, man up, just think through
Yeah,
it.
right. Right.
If I had that coach with me to just, and it sounds funny unless you're going through it, to talk to me, to walk through some of the different behaviors that I could have pivoted from, or things that I could have done to help myself, right? And obviously helping myself helps others around me, including my family, my marriage, all of those
100%.
things.
Agree.
So that's really
Agree.
cool that you all are doing that. I can imagine, right? Because people think of fitness and wellness as just a physical thing, and I think especially in the U.S. I was just in the UK and have a lot of context out more east, and it's funny, we'd call it like here in the US, like this, the emotional side or the holistic side is something too East for us. Like the West is physical. We move,
Yeah,
we jump, we
right.
press, we pull, and we're starting to introduce, I think that's why a lot of this stuff is coming. This mindfulness stuff
Full
is
circle.
really,
Yep.
it's coming full circle. And I can't imagine with the data that you have, the responses and the engagement you have, how emotional some of these responses are and how they impact long-term engagement, right? Yes, the behavioral, the physical, and I'm acting on some of the advice and recommendations that I'm getting from my coach, right, through Verb, but also
Yep.
the emotional support system that you have, especially in a platform, a function that we are, so used to, which
Used
is
to anyway. Yeah. I mean, isn't texting like the
it's
top
how
form
we
of
communicate.
communication? Yeah.
Yeah, that's how
And
we communicate.
the other cool thing, because I can say this because obviously I am one, but most operators, and I've been here and I certainly believe this at times, most operators obsess over getting a sign up. We have
Mm,
just obsess over getting someone in the door. But we
yeah,
forget that the real actually battle is after they join. Like, how are we going to keep them for the longest possible time, get them to spend the most amount of money, create the most value that we possibly can? And it's so hard to do that in the hour that they're with you a day. And so that's where or our product comes in is we take the experience and exacerbate it outside the gym, and we again are the glue between a brand and a member when they're not
yeah.
with you.
I can't imagine how many times an operator or gym owner tells you, I don't have a retention problem, Trey. Just like, and then I bet you're out there listening to this right now. I'm talking to you. Like, what do you say? What do you say to that? Because I just think of the acquisition funnel. You're right. People obsess on the top of it. Like, let's just add, and like just give no mind to the cycle and the attrition piece. Like, what do you say to them though? I mean, you've been an operator. You're a multi-unit leader. You're the guy. Now you're at Verb, right? And you're playing and operating with AI now. You have all this data. I'm jealous. You have all this data. What do you tell someone? What do you tell a gym operator that says, I don't have a retention problem?
I think when they say that, they actually end up having one.
Yeah, exactly.
They absolutely do, right? Um, and then another key indicator, obviously, is that if you're getting all these new members, but your revenue's not growing as
Mm,
fast as your signups, then there's a retention problem. And that's just the fact of the matter. That's the reality, whether you want to admit that or not, right? And I think it's retention's a little bit of a silent engine, if you will.
yeah.
That I think. It's we don't always see it because here's the thing about when someone cancels again, like we talked about, they've already made that decision. It's already too far gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so, bridging that gap between the first day that they sign up, and as we all know, those first 30 days are so absolutely crucial. And what is it, 50% of them leave in the first 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's so important to or roughly that number. It's so important to bridge that gap and build the most value that you possibly can through communication, in our case texting, that the value is so much because if they leave or cancel the membership, they lose their coach. And so
Yeah.
they're not going to cancel the membership because they lost the code. They don't want to lose this person that keeps them accountable, that they can talk to. Again, texting, yes, but they're talking back and forth for sure. And so I think if you say you don't have a retention problem, you actually do.
Yeah. You made me think about something, especially on the back and forth and the engagement through text. And I know there's been a lot out there. I think the adoption rate of AI is definitely climbing in 2026 is going to be another
Agree.
spike explosion. So for those like you and I that are in the space, it's going to be awesome, right? Because the change management becomes a little bit easier when it's like, okay,
Sure.
I need to do it. What we're all, we all see it on LinkedIn. We all laugh about it. And trust me, my wife will tell you, she'll know when a response is AI generated. It's like, oh shoot,
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
screwed. I got
Right.
to think for myself. But
Right.
it made me think about Verb. How do you make sure? Cause I interacted with it. I'm like, this has to be a real person, which I think they're still human in the loop. But
For
even
sure.
some of the message, I mean, it was just like clockwork. Like, wow, this is really cool. It's like I'm communicating with a friend. How do you protect the brand voice for those that, for clients that invest in Verb? How do you make sure you don't lose that brand voice and it doesn't sound to, as some people would say, AI, right? Like, how do you make sure
For
it
sure.
sounds like the brand?
Yeah. I think just building out the model, the
Mm-hmm.
product specific to that brand. And we're building actually as we speak, where you use the term AI agent. But what we're finding is, especially some of these bigger lifestyle coaches or the executive coach or just fitness coach, they're actually wanting to replicate themselves at scale.
Mm,
And so we're understanding their nuances, how they communicate, how they respond,
amazing.
how we would respond, and we're building that into their product and how it goes out to their clients as if it were said person, right? It's interesting that we we've come, not we meaning Verb, but we AI in general has come that far that fast to be able to replicate someone's nuances and the way they speak and how they may respond in certain situations, and building a product to be able to do that at scale without actually having to do it physically. It's just wild to me. I'm still a little bit new into the AI game, just candidly speaking. I've only been, using ChatGPT every now and again for the last 4 or 5 years, but really, understanding data sets and large language models and like all that stuff around AI and tech is only a couple of years. So there's so much more for me to learn, right? About just replication and how you can take a brand like a Crunch or a Planet or a Lifetime or anyone and make sure that that communication comes from a place of keeping the brand standard. It comes, they understand that, hey, yes, this is going to be some automation. And you have to make sure they're aware of that up front and not try to duck around it. Like, hey,
Yeah.
this coach is going to be really valuable to you. I just want you to know that there is going to be an AI component. There is going to be a bot, if
Mm,
you use that word, so to speak. Just be really candid with them and really upfront. Like, hey, this is how we built the product at scale. It's going to be very intimate, personalized communication. There is a back end manual physical coach from the brand that will be watching your communication and can interject at any time. But just keep in mind, in order for us to be able to deliver a product at this magnitude, at this size, with this personal communication, there has to be some AI component to it. And
yeah.
what we found in the bigger brands is that as long as the brand front desk member, team, personal trainer is upfront about it, they're completely fine with it.
I think that's smart. I think we are not, as a society, human society, are not ready to be fully not controlled, but like immersed with this digital species. I call it that, right?
Yes.
But we can use it here and there, and we still want some human connection, human in the loop. And I think that's going to be for a while. I don't think it's going to be 100%, especially in our industry,
In
right?
a
I
member
just
facing, yeah,
in a member
it's still,
facing, something
yeah,
that
just
requires like just a little bit extra, right? I'm curious to see how, and we saw some examples. Hopefully, they don't sue me or something. But Klarna, they totally reverted back because they realized customer service in a lot of ways,
it's,
especially their
yeah,
purchasing, still requires some sort of human in the loop
an element.
or
Yep.
connection. I'm curious to see where sales goes because I know a lot of people, even in our industry, are starting to invest their sales force to be this digital species, these agents, which is cool because you can do it at scale, you can do it
It's scale. Yeah.
24/7,
Agreed.
right? But when things go south, and I was just doing it in airlines, oh man, I almost lost it. I almost lost it, and I don't lose it, but I knew it was an AI bot, which I thought it was
Yeah.
cool. I'm like, oh, cool, they're gonna know exactly where to go, what I need. And it was just a nightmare, man. Like 60 minutes, that could have been 10 minutes if it was just a human. Like, let's just cut to the
Right.
chase bot. And it
Let's
just
get to,
kept
yeah, yeah,
asking
yeah,
me
sure.
questions. It's like,
Yep.
it's
Yep.
going through the
Yep.
decision tree model. I'm like, oh no,
Yeah.
this is not good.
Yeah. Right.
This is not good.
Right.
But you remind me, I love what you guys are up to. And I think there's some other players out there that are up to some interesting things. I was just spending time with and experimenting with all the eGym products.
Yeah.
And they have this, platform. It kind of reminded me of like Mirror and I forget what the other one is called.
Yeah. I
Tonal, I
got
think
you.
it is. Yeah. And I could see, yeah, there's this circuit training. That's the eGym's thing. Cool. But I'm like, I'm a power lifter. Like sometimes I need a coach at my platform. How
Sure.
cool would it be to have this like human looking within the screen, right? That we're used to with this voice, this avatar, right? It's like, hey, Albert, like figure out a squat correctly. You're not doing it right. I'm like, okay,
Right.
got it.
Right. Right.
Let me,
Right.
how
Got you.
should I
Yeah.
do it?
Right.
or some others like Jason Moore over at Spren, and actually posted a chat I had with Deba Strugo. But Jason and team and what they're doing around building, you kind of mentioned this, like a personal trainer agent, right?
100%. Yep.
Again, you have your physical one in studio or in gym, but outside of the four walls, back to our 23 hours, right? Yeah, your personal trainer can text you or whatever they do, but maybe you're traveling and you have that digital twin, right? The digital Trey
Yep.
training you at a Hilton or what have you. I think the space it's changing, man. It's awesome, but it can go south real quick if you don't think about. We're not ready to be AI foolproof.
Yeah.
Just like we were saying,
Agreed.
don't over automate, don't over
Don't over
AI.
automate. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because your churn is going to pick up
you
if you
sure
mess it up.
100% it is. And that is why we either one service the brand ourselves, where we're on the back end monitoring the conversations,
Mm,
interjecting where we need to, or we let the brand service their own account, right? And the
right.
personal trainer gets their own login and they can manage the conversations. Because as you mentioned, our data sets and the way that we've built the product, it's very much personalized. It very much sounds, except for our 5 habit track-ins, which in your case was the water.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
sounds very personal, right? And it sounds pretty human. But generally, again, as long as you admit that to the member and you're very clear on what the expectation is, then they're 100%. They see the value.
I won't mention what I said or how many times I was saying it because I got real. You probably saw it on the back end, like this
Yeah, I
guy's
did. I
crazy.
did.
Yeah. So, what I loved about it too is because human could also be corporate, right? Like
Yes.
I don't want the rigid, like, okay, corporate response, got it. And just, again, it was like talking to a friend. It's so cool that AI can do that. It reminded me this is like months ago. I was actually, it was OpenAI, ChatGPT, and I used the vision and I used the voice, which I think a lot of things are going to go to voice.
Voice.
There's a lot
Yes.
of people
Yes.
predicting that. I'm right up that alley. I think it's going to be a lot of voice activation. So get ready. Speaking of water, clear the throat. Like get ready. You're going to get challenged to speak up more, especially us introverts. But I was sick, and I think it could tell from my tone, right, and tempo
Hmm.
of speech. Like I was just like, I was super down. Like, hey K is my little GPT. Hey
Right.
K, I need X Y Z, and I noticed his tone completely mirrored mine. He went
Oh,
down. He
wow.
slowed
That's
the
wild.
speech. I appreciate it though because I'm just throbbing, and I'm like, dude,
You're right. Right. Right.
don't
Don't
speed
give
up
me
your
the
talk
energetic
like
answer. Yeah.
normal. Yeah, Kay, I don't need you to be happy-go-lucky. I think
Right.
I
Right.
configured him to be like straight to the point and fast. And I'm so glad he or what
Toned it down.
it's so weird. This digital thing picked up that I was sick or something was going on vocally where he toned it down, slowed it down. I'm like, that was pretty cool. Like
That is.
that was
It's
awesome.
wild.
But I love that it's that the technology is going there where it can pick up on some of these variables, these tripwires, including voice, tonality, and tempo,
For sure.
and all of that. What do
For
you
sure.
We keep talking about attrition, cancellation. Is there anything else that you found through all the data that you've accumulated over the 7, 8 years around just retention tactics? Like, what do you think has just become totally outdated in our industry, but you're still hearing it being used? Aside from the Hogwarts owl that we were talking about earlier, anything else like that? Tactics that you're finding gyms are still using to this day that you're just prolonging or delaying the inevitable because people already made the decision.
Yeah. I actually think endless discounting,
Mm,
just for the sake of keeping members around.
yeah,
It devalues your brand. It makes it look cheap. Um, why would you trip over, what do they say? Trip over a dollar or a
yeah.
dime to make a dollar.
Trip over dollars to pick up dimes. Yeah.
Right? So it's like, why, I just, it feels like an easy win to me.
Mm,
And I just don't think that it's necessary. It definitely trains members and the general population to value your brand less. I think that they expect deals instead of building real loyalty is a
yeah.
big one. They expect that I'm going to get $1 off or $10 off or half price or you fill in the blank.
Yeah.
But like where's the brand building real loyalty and value outside of just, which is great, outside of just having equipment and having great fitness classes and
Mm,
a lot of amenities and recovery and wellness and like all the ecosystem that we've been talking about.
yeah.
But really, it's important to note that I think that the endless discounting of products it's so outdated, in my
You know,
opinion.
if I ever wanted to cancel I have a couple gym memberships, but let's just say I wanted to cancel one of them. If I wanted to find out a deal, I'm just going to go to those Facebook groups. Man, they will tell you,
It
like
will
they will
tear
tell
you
you all
up.
the deals.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? That's your normal membership? Like you? How did you? I threatened to cancel. It's like, oh my goodness.
Sure, you're
It's
right,
like
right,
it's
right,
like a shoot. I need a savings discount. I'm just going to threaten to cancel. But you're right.
right.
It just like, and then everyone finds out about it. The gym thinks, oh, no one's going to know about
No
this.
one's
Like
gonna
this is
know.
just a
Yeah,
retention tool.
yeah,
Like,
right.
guys, everyone knows. Like everyone in the community knows. It's on the local Facebook group. Like,
Yeah,
come on. That's
yep.
too funny.
And
But
I
back to
think
your point. Oh, go ahead.
the other sales thing, like the dollar and the $10 and the $0. Like, man, I used to do that 15 years ago. And like that, it brought people in and like, low barrier of entry. I completely understand that's a very important part of gaining new members.
Mm,
But I also think you have to be careful that you don't, again, devalue your brand, make it look cheap. When you
yeah.
know that you have a great product, you know that the experience is awesome because you have great team members and you have great amenities inside and you have tons of equipment and all the things you could say there. But don't, what I encourage, and just talking with different people in the industry, what I would encourage people not to do is just create discounts or weigh percentages off for the sake of just doing it, because you're
Mm.
ultimately just hurting and devaluing the brand.
I'm just speaking hypotheticals here. Okay. You're the operations guy, man. I mean, again, I mentioned it earlier. You have a great reputation in the space throughout the country. I'm talking, coast to coast. We know some of the similar people, right? And you've been introduced to these tools, not just automation, but AI. So if you were, as an operator, were to go into a gym, a club, a studio, what do you think are some low hanging fruit where you like, what, let's use some tools here, in addition to the connectivity piece that Verb does, right? I'm talking, maybe you mentioned check-in process, personal training, group fitness, large group, small group. Maybe for those brands that have restaurants or Medi Spa, the GLP craze and the peptide thing is a big
Right,
thing.
right.
Where do you create efficiencies? Like if you were to go in and completely redesign the operational workflows of a gym or a studio, where would you go attack hypothetically?
Sure. Hypothetically, I would. I mean, again, we've talked about it all day, but I'm such a big advocate for the team, and and
Mm,
and really just think that the team is everything. The most important hire you can do in a gym, and again, this is my personal opinion. Some may disagree, and that's okay. I think the most important hire you can have in a gym is the GM,
mm,
and that may sound obvious, and it may be cliche, and it may, again, I guess, fill in the blank, but that person, that general, is just so vitally important. And if you don't have that person, nothing will succeed in that gym.
yeah,
Churn is through the roof. The experience, your team members aren't happy. Your brand suffers in that gym. The environment, like how you build the culture, not just from internal team culture, which is important, but maybe even more importantly, the member culture and how the member talks about your brand when you leave. And so I'd attack just personnel, right? And just really understanding each level of personnel, why they're here, why they enjoy doing what they're doing, why they don't enjoy doing it. And that's at the core of what we do. And it's just so crucially important. And again, that may be obvious, but a lot of people say
ah,
that, a
yeah.
lot
I
of
don't
people
think it
say it,
is.
and I'm just not sure. They're filling seats, and I understand. Sometimes you're scaling too fast. I've been there. You're scaling too fast. You got too many low hanging fruits to address. That I'm just going to put this person here, and maybe he'll work himself out. or she will
Mm,
work himself out. And it's just you have to be so much more intentional about that. The other thing I think that's low hanging fruit is really just what do I offer? Like, is it just fitness equipment? And
mhm,
but okay, why do I offer what I offer? Am I going to offer more? Right? And there's some brands out there that have stuck so close to the vest on what they offer. I think it hurts them. They're not
mm,
expanding necessarily with the offering and with the industry. I was just talking last week with a guy who's looking to get into the industry and scale a gym brand, and he was curious on like, okay, here's this brand. What's good about them? Here's this brand. What's good about them? And I said, I think that some of the best brands stick out that evolve with what the consumer wants. And I'm not
yeah,
saying you go away from like what made you successful and you stick to it. I get that. And I agree. But I also think that you have to have just a little bit of exploratory mindset where I'm going to explore this and I'm going to try this and I'm going to, bring this in to see if the member likes it. And, I think there's a real need for that in this industry overall, just to continue to evolve with what the consumer wants.
man, how much more time do we got time. I'm gonna hit
Yeah,
it because you hit
yeah.
so many great things here. You're so spot on the team member side because we've been chatting a lot about, and you see it, right? You see it on, again, and they're good, great media companies. Fit Insider, Athleta
Yep.
News, Club Solutions is kind of your traditional, right? You see all of this stuff about the end user and AI and this and that, but you see anything about how we're outfitting or equipping the general manager, the team member with a lot of this technology. And watch, we're going to get a post tomorrow morning about this.
To
But
make
no,
their
you're
job more efficient. Yeah. 100.
yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
without the team member experience, the engagement there, you don't have a member experience in the results that we're changing lives, right? And
100% you don't.
sometimes we do it backwards. And you're spot on. And I love this. And we're talking about tech is how do we outfit them? How do we make their jobs easier and more efficient so that they can connect better with the member and the end user, right? And then
Yeah,
you're,
because there's just so much to unpack there, and
yeah,
obviously I have a real heart for um, just I think too, and I don't want to get down too much of a rabbit hole here, but I think another important thing to understand about leadership, and everyone uses the term leadership, but everyone has their
mm,
own way of thinking about how they lead and actually leading a group of people. I mean, give or take 150, 200 people plus in a 10-year
yeah,
career that I led or directly or indirectly. And one of the most important things that I understood about leading a team, and I had to do this trial by fire. I was not taught this, was that I'm trying to understand who the person is behind when they come to the gym. Like, they know what they're going to do. The expectation is set. They know they're coming in at 8 and they're leaving at 5 and they're doing X, Y, and Z. Like that stuff, while important, it shouldn't be the only thing, and maybe not even the first thing that we do when we're talking to someone about joining a team or if they're currently on your team, because what's most important to them is not most important to you, which is the business all the time. And they have a family, they have
yeah,
challenges, they suffer with X, Y, and Z. And
yeah,
so I really want to unpack like why they do what they do
mm,
outside the gym, right? Of course, there's professional limitations and
yeah,
guardrails, and like you
yeah,
got to stay in the lane. I totally understand that, but not we don't do enough of peeling back the onion to people that we're trying to
yeah,
bring on a team, that we're actually trying to help the culture be better, and we don't even understand what they do in their life outside the gym
mm,
necessarily all the time.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And it's just so such a passion of mine to be able to lead people in from that lens, right? While yes, keeping whatever level hat you have on, COO, VP, director, GM, you definitely got to keep that hat on for sure.
yeah,
But I just think there's just not enough resources, like you said. We're not peeling back the onion enough on a team member, to make them really feel intimately involved with what you're doing and your brand and who you're trying to impact. And we there's just a big area of opportunity there.
yeah. That's huge. I love that. And I think people are going to rewind that one and enjoy listening to that because we could all get better there. And there's a lot of team members out there that need our help in the industry, including not just the tech, because I keep going back to that, but what you're saying is
Sure.
also the EQ side of it, right? And I think people need to touch on the EQ, the psychological safety, that connection point with
Psychological.
professional boundaries,
Sure, of course. Of
right?
course. That's
Um,
always understood, or at least it should be.
yeah. And then the other thing you were saying, right, is what do you offer? You're so right. There's so many brands out there that are so close to the vest, right? They don't show up at the White House with our industry. They're
Sure.
like hidden. They
Right.
don't show up
Right.
to the
Yes. Yes.
conferences.
Yes.
It's like
Yep.
they want their secrets close to the vest. I'm not going to say any names. I'll definitely get in
Yes.
trouble if I did that. But you're right. And then I think of companies like Verb that are out there, that are promoting, that are connecting. I think of companies like Your Footprint. They're going to be one to watch out for. They're bringing all of the different partnerships and brands together, right? So that you have a
Mm.
digital side of things, not just under the four walls, but as people, the end user, are overwhelmed with like my sleep and my supplements and my nutrition. There are companies like Your Footprint that are building an ecosystem digitally connected to the gym brand. So for those out there, check those out, right? I'm repping the ISI Nation, which,
Adam
and they,
Rice.
oh, Adam Rice, he might
Adam
kill me for
Rice.
saying this, but there is a Christian add to that. Sorry, y'all. I get it. I'm not pushing anything on anyone, but I love that brand for it.
Love it.
Plunge House is blowing up. It's going great, right? Check them out and how they're building an ecosystem, right? So exciting to see that. Or another one, right? And I think they're flying under the radar, but I caught them a little bit. I found them. They're doing great and bringing this ecosystem together, this wellness, this mindfulness, this healthy lifestyle brand called Alchemize House. So excited for them. So there
Mm.
are, to your
Yeah.
point, there are players out there that are pushing the limits, innovating and connecting everything together. I think like Verb, connecting all of it
Connecting it all.
together. Yeah, I just
Yep.
think I love that we're doing. I love this platform for that because I don't think there's more people that need to know what you all are up to, right? And the history, the rich history history that you have. You got to know about it. It's not just about these other big brands, right? There's a lot of players that are up and coming that are going to change, that are changing this entire
Yeah. So cool.
industry,
Yep.
right?
So
Including it
cool.
will be easy to cancel.
Yeah.
I had to end on
Yeah.
that. I was sorry. That's the
Yeah.
last time I'll talk about it. Liz from HFA, I'm sorry. I'm pretty vocal about it. I
That's
love you
funny.
all. Please invite me to the next
Yeah.
conference
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
year.
Me too, since I'm involved.
There you go. Nice, man. Well, last question. I got this one on
Sure.
LinkedIn. What's the most overlooked leadership principle that's guided your whole career up to this point?
Mm.
Is there a favorite book or
Yeah.
maybe a mentor?
I think leading with curiosity and not
Mm,
certainty all the time. I think leaders have to be curious. You have to ask the questions. You have to understand why someone does what they do, why a brand does what they do. And again, a lot of people say that, but I think really intentionally leading with curiosity and not so matter of fact certain. There is obviously, and I'm going to make this plug every time, there is a time and a place and a need, certainly, to be certain and to
mm,
be direct and to, you know, there's not much curiosity involved. This is pretty black and white, and it is what it is. But we feel that we have to have all the answers as leaders all the time, and I think that goes both personally and professionally. I think it's really about asking the right questions at the right time in the right place, listening with intent, like deeply listening with intent, and not just to respond. Because that's where we get caught up, and I tend to do it sometimes.
yeah,
I ask
me
a
too.
question that may be the right time, right place, right person to ask, but I'm looking to respond. I'm not actually listening to what they're having to say, right?
Yeah,
And then the final piece is that curiosity breeds learning and education and just being an open book and really expressing that you are curious about what's going on, like truly curious, not
yeah.
surface level, right? And I think it fuels the growth. I think curiosity fuels growth, and we need that. All of us need it. We all need to
Yes,
grow.
so good. Well, I'll continue to be a rookie and a student of the game. So I loved having you on. Every time we chat, I learned something new. I appreciate you for just keeping it real and raw. And so I
Likewise,
love,
Albert.
yeah,
Likewise, man.
this has been
Likewise.
awesome. And then thanks for, for those that know of it, awesome. It's a refresher, or those that are new to Verb. Thanks for sharing what Verb is up to, what it's all about, and how we can still use tools, but the human in the loop factor to communicate better with our team members and members, both within the four walls, or like we said, the other 23, if you're getting a longer workout, 22 hours of
Yes,
the
yes,
day, right? And it's really cool to see what you all are up to. If the audience wanted to get a hold of you or learn more about you or
sure.
Verb, how can they reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm not popular enough for my own website, so LinkedIn would probably be our best bet. Direct message, comment, whatever it is. Happy to exchange ideas and to conversate and just learn about just continue to learn overall.
Well, shoot, LinkedIn charges enough to say they're kind of like a website. So that's the way I
Yeah,
treat it. I was like, dang,
yeah,
man.
right.
Premium, how much? Great.
Yeah, no
Microsoft is
kidding.
killing. I don't think people know that it's actually owned by Microsoft.
I don't
Dang.
even know if I knew that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't even
yeah.
know if
So
I
that's
knew
why
that.
they charge, they get up there.
Yeah,
Anyways,
wow.
well, here, let me hit my end close script here. And if you're
Awesome.
looking to learn more, seriously, you're looking to learn more about how we're using AI, we're using it to AI to power strategic finance for growth brands. Visit us at www.valsites.com, or like Trey, if you're not going to DM me too. If you DM
Heck
him, you
yeah.
got to DM me.
Yeah.
So no, this has been awesome, Trey. Thank you so much. Another great episode of the Valsites podcast. We have great guests like Trey and some others. Check it out. Subscribe. Again, I'm your host, Albert Ramos. Trey, thank you so much. And everybody, we'll see you next time. Every Monday, we release these 8 a.m. Central. So make sure to subscribe.
Thanks, Albert. Take
Thank
care.
you.